Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Yeah, I guess part 3 of my reasonably priced frame series. I really enjoyed the SabotageRC Bangarang, so I decided to go ahead and get, this is the Dingo 5-inch. So if you watch my Bangarang video, that's more of a racing style frame. This is going to be more of a freestyle frame. And it's kind of interesting because it's kind of got, well, let's open it up and take a look. So this is what comes in the package. You get like a bill of materials. So we've got 4 arms, the top plate with a light bulb pad, hardware kit, the aluminum standoffs with the integrated camera mount that Sabotage is kind of known for. These are kind of cool instead of having to use a TPU mount. This frame is only going to fit micro cameras, even though it's a 5-inch freestyle frame, but that's okay. Battery strap with buckle, so one that I might actually be able to use. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Some landing pad feet, which I don't actually like this style. I have a style that's a little bit thicker, but if you don't have them, it comes with them, and the lipo pad. So you have really, so it's kind of a complete frame kit. You're not missing landing pad feet. You're not missing a battery strap. So yeah, we'll get this thing built up, and we'll take a look and see how it looks. Here we are. It's all built up. Very, very straightforward to put together. You basically have your 8 standoffs, 2 of which are the camera mount, and these 2 little sandwich plates, one for the front and the back, and the arms just get sandwiched in between these plates. Now, the nice thing about doing it this way is it leaves the full height in the middle of the frame available for your stack. So you have all the way from the top plate and from the bottom plate to the top plate to build your stack. So even though this is, you know, not that tall of a frame, you do have the full space in here. I think it's about 23 millimeters. It's about 25 or 26 millimeters in here, I think you have for your stack. So plenty of room inside there. This is kind of cool. This is this is a little bit of a throwback design. It's very H geometry wise. Get out the old chameleon bottom plate to compare. So your motor holes are almost lining up identical. So like, you know, look, the geometry of the arm, whatever shape it is, I don't know if that matters so much as where the motors end up, right? So even though this looks to be more H than some of the other frames out there, it looks to be spot on. The motor spacing seems to be spot on with a chameleon. As far as strength goes, I don't know if that makes a difference. You know, this is going to be Armaton quality carbon, and the grain, or whatever you want to call it, the layup of the carbon is in the correct direction for the arms. And when you have separate arms, that's easy to do. I am going to use a Runcam micro in here, and it seems to fit pretty good. The camera isn't quite all the way, this is a Runcam Micro Eagle, isn't quite all the way behind the front standoff. And this frame is designed for a microcam. So like a regular size microcam with a shorter nose and a standard size lens or a standard micro lens would probably be okay. But you are a little bit exposed here with your camera. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind. It's well enough protected, I think, but it's not quite all the way tucked back in behind the front of the frame. The arms do not move at all, and I'm really pulling, and they don't move. The arm design is kind of interesting. What's unique about these arms is this part right here, where they're kind of like splayed out, and you have this nice radius here. This should be pretty strong. I guess because the bolt holes are cut through the frame very tightly, and you have this wide spacing. You know, a typical arm that doesn't have this kind of splayed root, you know, if you have 2 bolt holes, they're going to be like about this spacing apart. So I'm guessing that maybe getting these bolt holes further apart or whatever. I'm not really a frame designer. All I know is these things don't move at all, period. End of story. So yeah, that's pretty good. You do have holes here for a 20 by 20 stack in case you wanted to do that as well. We're going to wait here in a second. I'm going to take the camera off before we wait, but you know, large gaps in the or cutouts in the top and bottom plates here. So I think this thing is going to be relatively light for a freestyle frame. So I think when I did the source one, it came in at like 125 grams or something like that with all the hardware. So let's go ahead and get this camera out, and we'll get the weight of just the assembled frame with all the hardware. The aluminum, these standoffs are great. These front camera mounting standoffs where they're machined aluminum with the screw holes for the camera built right in. Same as the Bangarang and the Mongoose and the Frigate and all the designs by Sabotage. These are really cool. Way better, I think, in my opinion, than the little kind of TPU camera mounts that you typically get. They're machined aluminum, they're all one piece, and they have the holes in them, and the micro cam fits right in between there. Really, really neat kind of mounting solution. So let's get the scale. 96.6 grams. So it's actually relatively light for a freestyle frame. I mean, not the lightest freestyle frame out there, but that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll take that. So far, I'm liking this. We'll see when we go to build it. It looks like it might be a little bit cramped in the front and the back inside, but should be enough room to get all your equipment in here, so shouldn't be a problem. We'll get some motors, and I'm not going to do ESCs on the arms, although I think you could easily do that with this frame. I'm just going to do an all-in-one ESC, and I think there's going to be plenty of room. I was a little bit worried, but now that I see it, I think there's plenty of room in there for a 4-in-1 ESC and a flight controller. Let's get to building, and I'll see you guys when it's done. And here it is. I like the way this came out. I think this looks cool. This is, at least aesthetically, and not that really even matters in the grand scheme of how your rig flies, but I like the way this looks. It's similar, the design language is kind of similar to Armaton, Rooster, and Chameleon in a lot of ways. You have a reasonably low deck height, but the top plate is kind of short front to back, and just like the Rooster and the Chameleon, you don't have a ton of space back here lengthwise for a battery. This is a Brain 3D antenna mount in the back, and if you use something like this, you do have some extra space where you can hang the battery off the back deck. But if you're using a longer battery like a white China Hobby Line 1300 100C, those are pretty long. But if you have using like Adrenaline or a Tattoo R line, you'll be fine. So yeah, I like the way it looks. We're gonna weigh it here in a second, but I think it came out relatively light. One thing I will tell you that I kind of noticed when I went to build this thing, that I'm not really disappointed, but just something to be aware of. So if you're gonna use or however you do your stack, but I used a 4-in-1 ESC, and zoom in so I can show you this here. You do have, like I mentioned earlier, like the entire height between the top and bottom plate to build your stack, but the arms kind of come close to the front and rear corners of the stack, so there's kind of like this valley in here where, depending on the shape of whatever board you're trying to mount on the bottom of your stack, whether it's your 4-in-1 ESC or if you're just going with ESCs on the arms, maybe a PDB or the flight controller itself, depending on how long this bottom board is, you may have to... I ended up with dead space down here, if you can see what I'm talking about, underneath the 4-in-1, and the reason for that is I had to actually get the edges of the 4-in-1 up above the top of the arm for clearance. And again, depending on how you build and what board is going to be here in your stack, you may or may not have to do that, but because of that, I kind of have some more dead space on the bottom here than I normally would have put, but there still is plenty of height here for, at least in my stack. I got a 4-in-1 ESC, a Helios Spring flight controller, just a cover plate there, and still plenty of room to feed the battery strap in, even with the additional cover plate. So you could probably even squeeze a VTX or something like that up there if you wanted to. I went ahead and put my VTX in the back. It's the TBS Unify Pro HV, the one that goes up to 800 milliwatts, and I've got a pretty big capacitor back here, and back here is also the TBS Nano, the Crossfire receiver, the small Crossfire receiver. And like I mentioned before, we've got a Runcam Micro Eagle Rotorite JB edition up front. And I went ahead and decided to use, I really like these motors. I've got them on a couple other builds, the Rotorite Hypetrain Freestyle, the original ones. These are version 1.1 with the upgraded bearings. And I think it's going to be pretty tough. It seems like it's going to be pretty durable. Now, like I said, I got an inkling that this thing is a little bit lighter than maybe some of my other freestyle builds, and I haven't actually weighed it like this yet, so we're going to do that right now, and maybe we'll compare it to my Source One and see if there's any difference. And 381.2. That's with no battery and no GoPro, but pretty much everything else. Let's try the Source One I recently built, and if you guys want to check that out, I have a video up all about this frame. And 408.5, so that's about a 27 gram difference, which is right about the difference in the weight between these two frames, so that makes sense. So yeah, 30 grams lighter from my Source One. It's probably lighter than my Rooster, my Chameleon as well. I do have a floss style. I have a feeling that may be slightly lighter, but not exceptionally heavy. That's pretty cool. I would probably recommend still to somebody who hasn't built as many quads a Source One. I think you have tons of space, and you know, the first time you build, or if you haven't done many builds, like having that additional space in the front and the rear is really nice, because kind of at the end, if you didn't plan ahead very well, or you're not sure what to look for before you start building, that space can kind of save you, because you can really fit, you know, anything in the back of a quad like that. In this quad, you know, you definitely want to plan out and dry fit all your components and see where everything is going to go before you start, you know, committing to soldering. It's definitely a workable amount of space in here, but there isn't a lot of extra room, and it's kind of interesting because the SabotageRC Bangarang is almost the same way. That's one of the racing style quads that Sabotage makes. It's like just enough room to get all your stuff in, which is cool, because, you know, why do you need a bunch of empty space that you're not going to use, you know, unless that has some kind of negative impact on the flight characteristics. And we'll see. I have flown this, and we're going to get to that next. I'll show you the flights, and it flies nice. I need to do a little bit of tuning, I think. It feels very similar to how my Rooster feels in the air. And when I recommend this, I would say, yeah, I definitely would. If you're, you know, this is like a budget version of a Chameleon or a Rooster. If you're looking at one of those Armaton frames and you don't want to shell out the up to $100 plus for a brand new Rooster or Chameleon, even though those frames are great and you get a lifetime warranty, this is $38. Same quality carbon, same quality design, and, you know, a lot of similarities in terms of the overall size and how compact it is, but this is going to be lighter than either a Rooster or a Chameleon. So if you're looking for something, you know, a little bit teeny weeny freestyle quad, I mean, is it really teeny weeny? It's small for a freestyle quad, in my opinion, from my perspective. It's definitely nice and small for a freestyle quad. So there's a 6-inch version as well. I've been contemplating doing a 6-inch quad. I haven't yet. So this might be a contender, although I have a feeling if I do a 6-inch, I might want some more room on the inside for, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So thanks for checking it out. Great little frame. Again, you don't really need to go out and buy really cheap frames off of places where you don't really know. It's like, I've talked about this before, you know, clone frames or whatever. You can get quality frames from manufacturers that do a great job and deserve support and are also going to give you a better product at a similar price. So definitely check out SabotageRC, SabotageRC.com. Stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions about the frame or the build in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them for you guys, and have a good one.